Alright, what is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So, crazy, they gave us a bit of a data download here, and obviously it's now here in-game officially, with a brand new 6 Plus Blackbeard, which we knew was coming due to the most recent Rumble season, so we knew that was coming. We didn't really know what was going to be dropping for the Kizuna Clash, and a lot of people have been asking this question, like, are we actually going to be getting something for the Kizuna? Will there be a new legend? And I think a lot of people, including myself, had the same thinking of like, yeah, they're going to bring out something, but we just didn't know what they were going to do. Lo and behold, the Kizuna Clash batch is going to be a direct tie-in to 6 Plus Blackbeard, so that I felt that to be a little bit of a weird choice. You do have to also remember that, you know, we still have the 5 Elder Sugo Fest going on right now, this major campaign, final phase of Egghead celebration. The other thing to keep in mind is that the middle of November, November 11 or November 12th, is when the half anniversary is going to be. So we are going to get some kind of half anniversary Sugo Fest, and I think the last couple of years, typically the end of month batch at the end of October is a direct tie-in to the half anniversary. So whether it be like the start of the half annie at the end of October, or a lead-in to the half annie in the middle of November. So do keep that in mind. And I'm not too sure if this is going to have a direct tie into the half anniversary, or if this is just going to be its own separate little thing just for the Kizuna Clash with the introduction of 6 Plus Blackbeard. So that's my thinking and theories in regards to what's going to be coming next. I don't know if it's going to be Blackbeard related. If it is, though, this is the start of it. But my thinking is it's going to be unrelated. My opinion is that it's just a small little celebration just for Blackbeard 6 Plus, and then end of month batch and the half annie in November will be something else. That's my opinion. Anyways, let's actually talk about the new characters that are dropping. So this is dropping October 17th. It's dropping tomorrow. Kizuna Clash Sugo Fest, a 7.5% chance to get a legend from this one right here. This is going until October 26th, so it's here for a whole month. And also featured here, it says new Kizuna Clash Sugo Fest exclusive only. Vasco Shot is here as a voiced character. So Vasco Shot is the legend, which is just the craziest thing to say. Like, I can't believe Vasco Shot is getting a Sugo Fest exclusive. That is insanity, dude. Alright, I'm excited to see what the abilities are. I had a brief read over when they first gave us the information through the data download, but I honestly don't remember a lot about what he's about. So let's see what else is going to be here. So there's going to be the legend Kizuna Clash legend, Vasco Shot, and then there's a Kizuna Clash rare recruit character, which is Avalo Pizarro. So this is going to be split into 2 parts, part 1, part 2. The steps, you know, kind of whatever, like, I just don't really suggest pulling on this one. So on part 1, these are the only legends that you can pull, it looks like. Yes, these are the only legends that you can pull. So obviously the new Vasco Shot, you've got Shiryu, who's fantastic. I think the S-Snake, the Dex one, is not that great. And then you have Sabo and Bonnie, which are like characters that don't see a ton of play. And then obviously you got the normal legends. I don't really like touching up on there too much because, you know, they're generic legends. You can pull them on a lot of different things. Part 2, you've got Khalifa, who's pretty solid overall, and then you've got Sai and Leo, who's kind of whatever, and Dex Whitebeard is also kind of whatever. Alright, let's actually have a look at some of these new units. Let's see what these characters are doing. So we have Avalo Pizarro, who's the generic rare recruit here. Captain ability, nothing special. Special ability is going to remove damage threshold by 6. If you have an orb boost when you launch the special, you get a 30% driven powerhouse resistance down. And then after that, your int, driven, and powerhouse characters get a 2.25 times orb boost for 2 turns. So you get the threshold removal, that's always happening. And then if you have an orb boost, you get the resistance. Otherwise, you get an orb boost instead. And it also reduces, it gives your team damage threshold for 1 turn. And that's important because of the way that the dual Blackbeard works, which we'll talk about at the end of this video. And then if you have 3 or more Blackbeard pirates on the crew, reduces blowaway duration by 2 turns, that's annoying, and further increases your color affinity and chain additives. The reason why I say that it's annoying for removing 2 turns of blowaway is because there's most likely going to be a blowaway for 2 turns in this content. That's going to be really frustrating to go against, whether you have a captain that resists blowaway instead, or crewmate abilities. Depending on who gets blown away, we'll have to see. Does he resist blowaway himself? He can't be blown away. The worst case scenario is that it's 2 randomly selected characters in your crewmates that are blown away, and then if he gets hit, it doesn't matter, and then he can bring the other one back. Yeah, that could be really, really frustrating. I'm not looking forward to this at all. Special abilities, like, just fine. Obviously, nothing too crazy there. And then for the support, attaches to any int Blackbeard pirate character. So it is relatively specific, but the effect itself says once per quest, if you use the special of the unit, then it removes 1 turn of threshold and get a 1.5 all boost for all characters. That's a very good support. Attaching to any int character that is also a Blackbeard pirate. Yeah, seems pretty solid overall. Then we get to the Sugarfest exclusive, the Kizuna Clash legend here, Vasco Shot. So this guy is an int powerhouse driven with superclass driven, and look at those potential abilities there. He does have the damage cap potential ability, which is kind of surprising. He does have the limit special use, which is a very good one because not actually a lot of characters have this. And then also has double special launch. So for a Sugarfest exclusive to have double special launch is kind of hilarious, because like it just doesn't happen very often, for one, and number two, the fact that, you know, typically legends have very powerful specials, and a legend having double special launch, while it is kind of cool, it does also get me worried because it means that the special might not be as powerful as we're expecting. So let's see what we have here. The captain ability, int powerhouse driven, 5.5 times attack with a matching slot, 5 times otherwise. 1.3 health, strength, and recovery are going to be matching. If you're inflicted with burn poison or progressive poison, converts that effect to boost int powerhouse driven character slot effects by 2.75 times for 2 turns. So this is very similar to the dual Blackbeard 6+, where whenever a certain effect is given to the crew, a different effect is applied instead. So that's kind of interesting. So anytime the enemy will burn poison or toxics you, that becomes an orb boost instead, which is pretty interesting. And then, what else does it do? Applies a certain effect based on tags. So if you have 3 or more Blackbeard pirates on the crew, reduces pain duration by 6 turns, and then boost powerhouse and driven characters by a further 1.1. Okay, so this becomes a 5.5 multiplied by 1.1, so he becomes a 6.05 times captain. Imagine saying that like to someone last year, that they'd release a Vasco Shot legend that is a 6 times captain. That is crazy. Captain ability wise, I think that it's just okay. Like it's obviously going to be pretty good in circumstances where you're inflicted with burn or poison, so we can expect that to be the case in the upcoming Kizuna Clash. But I don't think it's not like wowing me by any stretch. It's just like okay, right? Super class ability, you need to have 25% or below HP, or any of the 2 following characters. Okay, so either HP requirement or character requirement, and it's just any of the Blackbeard pirates, obviously including Kuzan. And it says the special will reduce bind duration by 2, reduces damage reduction, rainbow shield by 2, allows crew's attack boost to be further increased 2 times, and further increase your attack boost by 1.1 to a max of 6. Okay, that's actually not a bad super special at all. It's perfectly reasonable, got some utility there, and also a way to buff your damage. So, seems pretty good to me. Now, let's get into this special. Remember, it's double special launch, so we have to keep that in mind. We have to keep that context in mind when we're going through his kit. So, if you have 3 more Blackbeard pirates on the crew, and your HP is 50% or below, allows the crew to stack up to 2 different damage boosting effects. So he's a double stacking conditional boost, as long as you have the tags present and you need to be below 50%. So 2 conditions you need to fulfill there. Furthermore, if the enemy has ignite poison or progressive poison when you launch the special, you get a conditional boost against enemies that are inflicted with those debuffs of ignite poison or venom or progressive poison for 1 turn, and then after that cuts your crew's HP by 25%, and then reduces bind duration by 3 turns, and also reduces all enemies rainbow shield by 3 turns, and then boosts the color affinity of int powerhouse driven characters by 2.75 for 1 turn, and also applies ignited status for 1 turn. Okay, and that then the rest is just kind of fluff. Okay, so essentially when you first launch the special, it'll do the checks, of course, you know, blah blah blah, double stacking conditional boost, and then it'll do another check to see if the enemy is inflicted with ignite, poison, venom, progressive poison, and if they are inflicted with that, that's when you will get a conditional boost. It's a 2 times conditional boost against venom, progressive poison, ignite, whatever it may be, and then it will also give you a health cut, which can potentially help proc certain abilities. and then also reduces bind duration by 3 turns. So remember, with double special launch, that becomes 6 turn bind removal. That is 2 25% health cuts, which can get you to the lower health thresholds. And then the color affinity is still activated, and then of course when you first launch the special, you'll get the ignite. So when you launch it again, the enemy will have the ignite, which gets you the conditional boost. And of course you can get double stacking conditional boosts as well. I mean, it's like, okay, it's kind of just whatever, honestly. It's a Kizuna legend for 1, so they're going to be pretty difficult to pull, so there's that. But 2, it's just like, yeah, it's like you need the other Blackbeard pirates to really make this work. I feel like this character is really only going to be good if you do have all of the rest of the Blackbeard pirate characters in the game, including like Kizuna legend Shiryu, who could definitely work under this guy. So I feel like if you don't have all of these units, there isn't really much use for a character such as this. There just really isn't. Is there anything useful in his crewmate abilities? Strength and int are matching for Powerhouse and Driven. That's pretty good. 200 base HP for the crew. That's pretty good. Support effect. Any Blackbeard pirate character, once per quest, if you're inflicted with bind or burn, remove 2 turns of it. That's fantastic. That's a really, really good support effect that will definitely see play. And then the Rumble ability, let's have a look and see what he does in Rumble, okay? So, Powerhouse and Driven, HP 6, attack 6, speed 6. Blackbeard pirates, HP 6, recovery 4. If you have 4 more Blackbeard pirates, 4 attack to himself. Not a great Rumble ability. It's just kind of just like HP attack mainly. That's just kind of it. It's pretty bland, nothing too crazy there. 32 CT special, large range horizontal 3x. Okay, Blackbeard teammates 5 attack, 5 speed, 5 defense, all for 15 seconds. That's fine. If 4 or more Blackbeard pirates are on the team, target all enemies for 4 times damage and a 20% CT delay. That's a fantastic addition. But of course, you do need a full Blackbeard pirate team. So, I mean, you're using this guy. You would use probably Law versus Blackbeard, obviously versus Blackbeard, that is. Avalo Pizarro technically could be used, the Rumble one I'm talking about. Because you need 4 or more Blackbeard pirates. There aren't like a ton of good ones. So I feel like this is opening up for an interesting team build for sure. At the moment though, I would say not relatively worth it though. But that special is quite strong. He is fully attack focused. He evades half stats, which is kind of interesting. Okay, well there you go, Vasco Shot. He just seems fine. I think that most people out there should be avoiding this Sugofest like the plague. You just don't need to pull on a Sugofest such as this. Before we wrap up the video, we do need to talk about this brand new super evolution for Blackbeard. Kind of pumped to see what they've done here. Now remember, this 6+ will also have level limit break, so if you have the investments, this is a very old legend, so I feel like a lot of veteran players will have this guy already maxed out, ready to go. So I'm kind of pumped to see exactly what kind of buffs they decided to give this guy. Okay, so let's jump over to the 150 version. Yeah, let's have a look and see what the best version of Blackbeard is going to look like here. So remember, here's a dual unit, so you can start off as the Gura Gura fruit or the Yami Yami Devil fruit. So we'll start off with Whitebeard Devil fruit. So he gives 1 turn of cooldown to Int, Powerhouse, and Driven, and also 1 turn to switch gauge. That's actually kind of cool. And then boost Int, Powerhouse, and Driven 4.25. That seems a little weak, no? 4.25 times attack, 1.75 times HP, and he takes 1.5 times increased damage. So he, even though he has like the really high HP there, he offsets that with having a lot of increased damage. So it only, technically, if you want to math it out, it technically only really equates to like a 25% HP increase. He halves your crew's recovery. He always does that. And then reduces the chance of landing recovery slots. Reduces all enemies' HP by 10% at the start of each battle. So every time you enter a new stage, the enemy's health is cut by 10%. So it ignores all defensive effects, defense, and it also goes through normal attacks only. I'm pretty sure he did not do that beforehand. So every time you enter a new stage, it's a 10% health cut that goes through everything, including normal attacks only. That's pretty cool. And then when the crew launches a special that gives you damage reduction, damage threshold, or damage nullification, instead of getting that defensive effect, it converts it into boosting the attack of Powerhouse and Driven by 2.5 for 1 turn, regardless of the effect. So this is why the Kizuna rare recruit Avalo Pizarro, which he normally would just give you damage threshold, it is converted if Blackbeard is the captain and changes it into an attack boost instead. So while this doesn't seem that great, it is obviously depending on what you're going up against, of course, but yeah, it can be a little problematic if you actually want the defensive effect, but do keep in mind that this is only talking about specials. So if you activate a special that gives you one of these defensive effects, so I believe if you use like a super type, super class, EX super support, those will still give you these defensive effects, but it's only just launching the actual special where it will convert. So moving on to Blackbeard's to the Blackbeard Devil Fruit instead. So let's have a look here. So in a little bit differently in terms of he doesn't do the 10% health cut every time you enter a new stage. Let's see what it does. Reduces this character's special charge time by 2 turns and switch gauge by 2 turns at the start of the next turn after you receive damage. And the rest of it is still the same, okay? So it's the exact same captain on each side. It's just that Whitebeard, every time you enter, does the health cut. Blackbeard, every time you take a hit, he's reducing his own cooldown, and he is reducing his switch gauge. So I think it's a pretty fair trade-off. I think, depending on the content, either of them could be pretty cool, but I think most of the time, the Blackbeard side of things is probably better to charge him to get him ready to go as soon as you possibly can. So let's go ahead and move on to the dual captain now. So you would think it would just combine all the effects here. It's a 5 times captain, which does feel low. It really does. Reduces his charge by 3 and switch by 3 every time you take a hit, which is very good. The 10% health cut. And then instead of being a 2.5 times attack, it's a 3 times attack boost instead when you activate one of those damage reduction effects. And then he also gets an added 1.1 times damage to any character on the crew that is a Blackbeard pirate, a worst gen, or a 4 Emperor character. So 1.1 isn't like this. The damage definitely feels low. I don't know. I'd have to go back and have a look at some of the more recent super evolutions, but a 5 times boost with a 1.1 as the cap seems a little odd. It definitely seems a little low to me. Is this included here? Yeah, it is. It's a 5 times with a 1.1. Yeah, it's the same. Okay, interesting. All right, let's have a look at this special ability here. So the special here, his special beforehand was really bad. It basically didn't do anything. So this time around, you get a 3-turn 1.4 chain boost. It's a chain edition. And then if you have 4 or more of worst gen 4 Emperor Blackbeard pirates, then it will further increase your attack and all boost by 0.5. Fine. Int, Driven, and Powerhouse get a chain multiplier tap time and growth rate up to 0.6, which can stack very well with that chain addition he gets from the special. If you have a Driven or a Powerhouse captain, extend the duration of your attack and all boost by 2 turns. So this can work quite well, but it is still, like, you know, focused on activating these attack and all boosts via, you know, all these other effects. You know, obviously Vasco Shot, and then this guy, you can use both of them as captain, and then you can get it in such a way where you can extend these, like, attack and all boosts that you're just getting for free. Like, I guess it kind of makes sense. And then becomes the dual unit for a different variable range. So this character's dual unit can last for up to 8 turns, and it's based on the amount of damage that he takes. So you're guaranteed to last for 3 turns, but the more damage he takes, it can go up to 8 turns that you're in this dual form for. And while that does seem kind of interesting, you do have to remember that when you're in your dual form, you're mainly just doing it for the major burst damage, because when you're in your solo form, that's when you can start abusing the switch effect and the super switch effect to give you additional effects throughout the battle. So there is a little bit of give and take depending on how you want to, you know, use him in content. Let's have a look at the switch effect. It is only a 6-turn super switch, which is not too bad. And then the base switch removes his own special bind and despair, and then changes his own block slot to matching, and then a 1.3 orb boost for 1 turn, and it can be overwritten. This can be actually kind of interesting. This could work very well with the Avalo Pizarro rare recruit that just came out, as you can use this switch effect, and then because you already have an orb boost, you get both effects of the Avalo Pizarro special. I guess that could kind of make sense. The super switch, as we said, 6 switches, removes special bind despair, changes his own and adjacent slots including block into matching, and then a 1.75 times orb boost that can be overwritten. I was like, okay. He's got a lot of tags though. He has a lot of tags. Okay, so that's pretty much Blackbeard, man. That's pretty much it. He's got some base attack increase, makes all colored slots matching for himself. He doesn't seem like a grade 6+, all things considered though. Like after that entire breakdown, he's really not a great 6+. They didn't really do too much. He obviously has a lot more chain focused effects in his special now, which is like cool. Like that's cool. He's going to be a really strong unit for chains, I guess, but the whole like Blackbeard focus team is like kind of whatever. Maybe he can save it with his rumble ability. Let's go ahead and have a look here. So his rumble ability gives Driven and Powerhouse 7 attack, 7 health, all enemies 7 speed down, and then if you have 4 more Blackbeard Pirates, all enemies attack down level 5 and special CT speed down level 3. That's actually pretty good. And then during Assault Rumble, Powerhouse and Cerebral defense down level 5. Why are they making the 6+ an Assault Rumble focus unit? That is crazy. This is interesting. I mean, unless this guy better be a boosted unit in Assault Rumble. If he's not, then that's not going to make too much sense. Okay. Special ability here. He does a large range 3x damage. And then all enemies for attack down level 7, speed down level 7, defense down level 4. That's pretty good. And that's all for 20 seconds. That's a lot. And then targets 2 enemies with 100% chance of action bind for 10 seconds. Pretty good. And then during Assault Rumble, target 3 Powerhouse Cerebral class enemies for 3 times damage. So yeah, this guy will be probably very good for the upcoming Assault Rumble at the end of the month. So building a team around that makes sense. But at the same time, for him to get all of his abilities to work, you do need 4 more Blackbeard Pirates, which is probably difficult to do for the average player. So I don't even know if he's even going to be worthwhile running, because if you're not running 4 more Blackbeard Pirates, you're losing out on the attack down and the CT speed down on the enemies, which is actually a huge debuff. Like, you actually want to hit that. So, yeah, I don't know, man. He does evade special bind and action bind. That's kind of a nice touch, but yeah, I'm disappointed. I mean, I guess we weren't really expecting too much. It was the dual Blackbeard. I mean, dual Blackbeard on release was one of the worst legends in the game. Like, people couldn't believe that they released a character that bad. I don't know what they were thinking, but his design was absolutely trash, god-awful. And, you know, the 6+, even with the level limit break in mind, I don't think they've really done too much. And I do think, obviously, that people will use him in the most recent content that's going to be dropping, because he'll be a boosted unit. But once that boosted meta leaves, and he's no longer boosted, yeah, he's really not going to be, like, see much play. He is going to be collecting dust in character boxes for a long time. That is unfortunate, but hey, that's all the information that we have here today for these brand new batch of characters that are coming up. The actual Kizuna Clash itself starts on October 21st, so you have plenty of time to get your teams prepared for that. I will bring you guys dedicated videos for this one, in terms of like building teams, getting stuff prepped. Do remember though that this is not a Super Boss Kizuna Clash, so you don't need to worry about building a Super Boss team. That will come in November. So that is going to wrap it up for me though. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.